the cabinet next time around is likely to discuss a mega relief package for farmers either next week or the week after that. And in a bold move, the Prime Minister office is considering the feasibility of paying nearly 10,000 rupees to a farmer household. For this a big exclusive, let's go across to my colleague Parisha Tyagi. Parisha, what are you picking up? PM announcing a mega relief package has been on the cards since the state elections. What is the scheme? Where is it reaching? Is it finalized?
Of course, yes, as we have been hearing, PMO was looking at number of options to provide relief to farmers, and what I am picking up from sources is that after looking at Telangana model, the PM is now considering Odisha model for farmers, under which every farmer household is provided a relief of nearly 10,000 rupees to help them with input subsidy, input cost. Input cost, let me remind you, is the cost required by a farmer for buying seeds, for buying machinery. It's the cost required by farmers before going ahead for sowing. So the PMO is now looking at ways to provide nearly 10,000 rupees per household. Earlier it was considering provided 4,000 rupees per acre, which was largely in line with Telangana model. But going forward, the officials realized that there are a lot of challenging in that way, especially because it will take a lot of time, nearly 1 year of time, to identify small and marginal farmers to which this relief of 4,000 per acre will be given. So now the PM is considering given a particular amount per household, irrespective of how much land do they hold, and this is very much on the cards. It is likely to go to cabinet as soon as possible, and speculations are rife that PM can even go on to make this announcement in his on Republic Day. So what finally the PM decides is still unknown, but yes, Telangana model has now been substituted, or let us say that Odisha model has emerged as an alternative, and the PMO is looking at all these ways to provide relief to farmers.
What you're saying is that we're gathering that the Odisha model is something that is likely to be adopted instead of the Telangana model. Could you tell us what are the pros and cons? What is it that the government might have weighed upon while coming on to this likely conclusion?
Of course, as it is obvious, the major focus of the government at this point in time is the election. So the Telangana model will require a lot of time to identify small and marginal farmers, and then to pass on the benefit to them, to gauge how much land does a farmer own. It is going to be a lot of effort. So in those terms, Odisha model is simpler than Telangana, as the farmer household, the landowners have already been identified. The latest census was conducted in 2018, and according to that, there are nearly 14 crore landholder farmers in the country, farmer household in the country. So the calculation is simpler in Odisha model. Other than that, the financial implication is also likely to be smaller if the government goes with the Odisha model, as Telangana model promises 4,000 rupees per acre to small and marginal farmers, which calculations tell us that could work out around 2 lakh crore rupees, which is a big part of the budget for India's budget. Even the agriculture ministry does not get that big an allocation, and providing 2 lakh crore to a farm scheme and going on with it for years and years is a big challenge. So the government is now looking at Odisha model, which promises 10,000 to each farmhold, but will still have nearly half the financial implication as compared to the Telangana model.
Parisha, just stay on with us. We have Siraj Hussain now with us on the phone line. Mr. Hussain, thank you so much for taking out time for us. What we are picking up from sources is that, what the government is considering, direct PM is considering, is, a sort of package for rural boost, especially for agriculture. They're not yet decided whether it will be 10,000 rupees to a farmer household, or it will be the Telangana model of 4,000 rupees per acre. But do you think this is coming in?
I have been hearing this for several days now, but I do not think that this can be implemented before the elections, because it has huge financial implication for which approval of Parliament will be required, and the amount has to be budgeted. So at best, in my view, perhaps it will become a part of the election manifesto, and a promise will be made.
Hussain, I just want to understand, there are two models which have emerged as clear-cut options if at all the government and PMO wants to roll out a scheme, a package like this. One is the Telangana model of 4,000 per acre and the other one is the 10,000 rupees to the farmer's household. Which one according to you is more appropriate in a situation like this? Of course, in terms of feasibility, the consensus seems to be in the bias of Odisha, but what is your own personal perspective?
No, both these models are the same actually. Odisha is also modeled on the basis of the experience of Telangana. Both these models are exactly similar, only the amounts and some details are different. So, in Telangana, they do not cover the tenant farmers, the landless laborers, etc. In Odisha, they want to cover that also. However, Odisha is yet to be implemented. There are enormous difficulties in implementing what Odisha has announced. Telangana has already implemented it for people who have land in their names. So Telangana in that respect is ahead of Odisha. But the basic point which I think you want to communicate is whether a direct investment support to farmers is on the anvil. I do not know because it has very large financial implications.
Right, Mr. Hussain, just stay on with us. Maithili Bushtamad is also now with us. Maithili ma'am, what do you make of this news that Odisha is breaking right now?
Well, the fact is that the government is now seriously concerned about the growing farmer distress. And the fact is that despite whatever efforts the government has taken, in fact, in all fairness, they have made a number of efforts, none of these have really assuaged farmer distress for a variety of reasons. Now, with the elections looming ahead, I think the government is seriously concerned about doing something that will directly make an impact. And the only thing that can directly make an impact is income support. The question is not only of the fiscal implications, but also whether the government has the time to deliver in the limited time available to it. Remember, before the elections, we'll also have the model code of conduct kicking in. So the government doesn't have much time. And also the success of the Telangana experiment has, because it was created by an extensive, redrawing of the land records, rectification of land records, digitization of land records, which is not possible on a countrywide scale at such short notice. So there are many question marks, and what the government can perhaps do is make a promise. I doubt if it will be able to implement it in any meaningful fashion, though of course the fact that you have Jan Dhan accounts does make such a transfer a little easier.
The timeline is a big concern and a big question mark at this point of time. What we are picking up from sources is, of course, that the government wants to implement it ASAP. But Siraj was with us and he was talking about some serious fiscal and financial implications if such a huge, massive package were to be rolled out by this government. What's the sense you're getting? Maithili? Maithili, my question is to you. Was I audible?
Past few years, so they might have to exceed their fiscal deficit target of 3.3, but my sense is the government has perhaps given the stakes. It is a question of a possible loss of the elections and exceeding of fiscal deficit marginally. There's no doubt which way any government would opt. So my sense is that if the government feels that it's sufficiently important, it might deviate from its fiscal deficit target and just go ahead with some kind of token transfer at the moment and promise of more to come in case it is re-elected.
Right. Maithili, when we talk about such packages coming in, as you said, that, even if there is time, the implementation challenges are pretty high. So as and when it comes, how it happens will be important to see.
As I said, since the government does have the advantage of Jan Dhan accounts, virtually every household now does have a Jan Dhan account. So if it wishes, it could make a token direct benefit transfer, as it were, and hold out the promise, maybe in the interim budget speech or while announcing this, that we have intention, we had promised, because just recently the Prime Minister in Punjab had again reiterated a promise of doubling farmer income by 2022. So clearly the government cannot afford to kind of not deliver on that promise which he is making again and again. So my sense is that the government might opt to deviate a little bit from its fiscal deficit target. It could also, of course, go in for a little bit of fudge by way of, meeting the disinvestment targets from right hand to left hand, one PSU buying into another, and also by deferring some kind of expenses because the government budget is on a cash basis, not on an accrual basis. So there are these possibilities available. Combined with a mild deviation in its fiscal deficit target, it is not entirely undoable.
I would also like to ask a question to Mr. Hussain. Sir, on one hand, the government says that the loan waivers is a bad practice, and on the other, they want to rush in with decisions like providing direct incentives. This special, if they go for Odisha scheme, especially, all the farmers will be benefited, irrespective of whether they are small or big. So, do you think it's a very smart idea to? Isn't it ironical to condemn loan waivers on one hand and to go on with such, election gimmicks on the other hand?
No, between loan waivers and direct investment support, the latter is a better idea because it is not crop distorting. It will benefit everyone, not only those who have taken loans from banks. In any case, in case of loan waivers, very small and marginal farmers who have taken loans from money lenders do not get any benefit. It is only those who have taken loans from institutional sources get the benefit of loan waivers. So between these two options, direct investment support is a better option. But how much will be given, whether the tenant farmers will be covered, and how will the money be actually delivered to the farmers' bank accounts? These are not very easy things. There are a number of operational difficulties which I can discuss maybe at some other time.
Okay, Mr. Hussain, Maithili as well as Parisha, thanks much for taking time out for joining us and getting us all these perspectives and details about this big ET Now exclusive.